Perfect. And we are live. Hello, David. It's such a pleasure to have you teach us today.
Thanks for having me. Good to be with you, Jimmy.
Absolutely. I definitely pleasure is all ours. Where are you joining
I'm
from
joining you
today?
from Cambridgeshire in the UK.
And on the map, it's where?
On the map, it's about 50, 60 miles, 100 kilometers north of London.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. And once people just get fully in and joining us, let's see how many different locations we are able to cover with our attendees before it has been quite the area we've been able to cover. So let's see. I can see some people are joining us. Very warm welcome for people joining us today. Um, Please write to the chat, where are you joining from today? I'm joining from Helsinki, Finland. So on the map, it's closer to the very north. But let's give a minute or two for people to get ready, to get comfortable, and then we can hop to today's actual topic. Perfect. I can see people rolling in. Hello to London. Nice to have also London represented. Maybe we are able to cover also other areas. Let's see. On our Finnish webinars, this becomes always a competition of who's going to join from the furthest. And up to date, a person joining furthest from Finland to our Finnish webinars was joining from Germany. So they won.
What's the prize?
Just fame and glory. But perfect. Welcome to everyone here joining us today. My name is Jemmy and I work for Leadoo Marketing Technologies. And as said, I'm based in Helsinki, Finland. And Leadoo in itself is a full conversion platform. And our mission is to help our customers convert more from their website without adding to the costs of driving more traffic. And today we are talking about conversions and content marketing strategy. And I'm extremely excited to have David here with us today, teaching some maybe industry's well kept secrets, uh, some practical tips. It's going to be a really fun ride for everyone today. Um, just so you know, webinar will be 1 hour long, and you will get the recording also afterwards, delivered directly to your email. And during the webinar, we will be running some polls, and I will start one right now so you'll see how it looks like and how you can answer it. It opens right above the chat. And now the first question is, are you trying to get the world ready before summer holidays? And just by clicking the correct or the most suitable answer button, you can leave your answer there. David, how it is for you? Are you trying to get the world ready before summer holidays, or are you even going to have summer holiday?
I'm quite fortunate in that I've just come back from holiday. So not planning any other holiday at the moment. Planning a nice break in the summertime, but I think more importantly, hoping that the weather is pleasant because that's always unpredictable in the UK.
Yeah, I That's what I've heard. But
You've never been.
perfect. I've been twice. I've been twice,
Okay.
but just the two times. Maybe I need to make it three this year.
So I'm trying to see if I
But
should see a poll here as well. I can't actually see the poll myself. Should I be seeing that as well?
unfortunately for you, probably it's not currently visible. But I will make sure
Oh,
that I will give you all the poll results
no problem.
um, here during the event. And as said during the webinar, we will have a few of these polls, which are then more related to the actual material. So it's it's going to be good. And please be very active in the chat. I will be with you in the chat. And if you have questions or comments for David, I will be picking them up during the webinar and his presentation. So let's make sure that you also make the most out of this time here with us today. But maybe without further ado, David, the floor is yours. If you give us a quick intro first, and then we can really, really jump to today's agenda.
Sounds great. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jemmy. Thanks so much, Leadoo and Jemmy, for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. So, we're going to be talking about how to enhance your conversions with content marketing strategy today, focusing really on how to pull together your different types of content to really augment those conversion rates, because it's all well and good to focus on things like landing pages and focus on calls to action. But unless you've got that whole experience of your brand down to a T, then it's going to be much more challenging to get those conversion rates as enhanced as they could possibly be, especially if you have fairly long sales cycles. And many of us working in B2B brands do work with long sales cycles. It means that we're having people experience our brand and then perhaps having a period as long as a year or even longer until someone decides to make that purchase with us. So how do we keep top of mind? How do we ensure that the conversion rates are there when someone's ready to buy? It's with that content marketing strategy. So I'm David Bain, and just a little bit about me. I've been podcasting since 2006, a very long time ago now. I started just after iTunes was launched. It's now called Apple Music, of course. And back then, there was probably about 10,000 podcasts out there. There are now well over 2 million of them. And that's part of a great B2B content strategy nowadays. I've been involved with digital marketing training for a long time as well. I presented my first digital marketing seminar in 2007, April 2007, actually. If you search YouTube for the 13 pillars of internet marketing, as it was called back then you'll see me delivering a seminar from April 2007. I'm also the founder of boutique B2B content production agency Casting Cred. So we specialize in producing podcasts, video shows, and books. So I want to really get started by asking you a question. Now, that could be a rhetorical question, or it could be something that you're willing to share in the chat here. And that is, how do you plan your marketing activities? I think many marketers, and certainly many marketers with a digital background, are a little bit guilty of focusing in on technology or getting excited about some new thing, about driving traffic, and not really thinking about the sequence that customers actually go through on the path towards making that purchase with you. So how do you plan your current marketing activities? In truth, is it about focusing on the traffic driving mechanism, the channel? Do you focus more deeply than that? How do you actually go about planning your marketing activities? So any thoughts on that would be appreciated. But many marketers also focus in on marketing funnels. And one of the most popular B2B marketing funnels is awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, advocacy. So that 5-step process. And that's a great process to be aware of, because then you're aware of what people are likely to be experiencing as a result of discovering your brand for the first time. So that awareness stage, moving through to conversion, moving through to advocacy, all the different steps there. But I don't think that a linear approach is the best way to look at this. So I had a little bit of think about this, and I think that a better way to think about this type of funnel is not through just a one way street. It's actually through a funnel, and it's a funnel that goes round and round and round and actually drives people back to the top as well. So I came up with something called the pump and funnel marketing model. So starting the top of the funnel with awareness, moving through to consideration, conversion, obviously at the bottom of the funnel there as well, but it continues. You've got loyalty and advocacy. You've got the lake of loyalty at the bottom, and you've got advocacy. How can you drive existing customers to be to promote your services, to promote your products, and actually encourage new customers without you actively advertising? So that's a great way to look at it, but it's still not everything, because if you try to drive traffic at awareness or try to drive traffic at consideration, people aren't actively engaging with anything. What do people engage with? They engage with content. Content is the reason why people move through your funnel. So I've started to think about what marketing models, content models were out there, and what content models could be applied to the pump and funnel model. And one of the most popular frameworks / models is the 3H content marketing framework. Now, that was started by YouTube and Google, and it's a great way to go about producing content for YouTube or even for other areas on your website. Hero content, hub content, help content. So we'll go into exactly what those forms of content are, but let's just take a look at how they map to the pump and funnel model. Hero content is your big, incredible pieces of content, your content that resonates with a large audience, and the type of content that people find so spectacular they're likely to share it themselves. Help content, further down the funnel, is generally related to long tail keyword phrases that people search for in relation to the category of business that you happen to sit in. So longer tail keyword phrases, 4 or 5 words, the kind of queries that people ask before they're ready to buy, but indicating that they're tempted to buy at some point in the future. Then you've got hub content. Hub content is more episodic content. It's more content that is actually out of the funnel. Why is it out of the funnel? Well, let's explore those 3 different types of content and see why. So starting off with hero content. So examples of hero content includes books, virtual summits, and short films. Now, I'm just going to give you a few examples of these different types of content so that it hopefully really hits home. So one of my clients is a client called Majestic, and recently I've published a series of content, a big piece of content for them called SEO in 2022. And this content exists on their website, but it also exists as a YouTube series. So 66 different YouTube videos. So I've interviewed 66 different SEO experts, asking them all the same question: what's your number one SEO tactic for 2022? So that's a YouTube series. It's also an audio series, and it's also been published as a book. And if you publish in lots of different formats like that, audio, video, written form, you're going to appeal to as broad a target audience as possible, because different people like to read books, different people like to consume audio. Same applies to video as well. I see Anna saying we'll get the presentation afterwards. So thank you, Anna. Good to hear from you. This presentation is actually in video form, so I'm combining a couple of videos to produce the presentation, but you can actually download the pump and funnel model, which I'll be going into in greater depth in the downloads in the top right-hand side of the chat there if you want there as well. And also, obviously, you'll have access to the video recording as well afterwards. So SEO in 2022, multiple formats, and also a book as well. And it's great to produce an incredible big piece of content like that because it lasts for the long term. It can last for a year plus. You have people resonating with it, asking questions about it for the long term. That piece of content was published 6 months ago. We've still got people tweeting about it. Here's a guy here, weekend reading, Majestic's SEO in 2022. So it's a lovely tweet. It's a lovely thing to see continual social coverage, organic social coverage, as a result of a piece of content that you published 6 months ago. And it's not only the people that read the content, it's also the opportunity that you have to engage with thought leaders that can produce the content with you. So this is Izzy. Izzy was one of the contributors, one of the people that I interviewed for this particular project. Look at this tweet. We just got approached by a potential client who would definitely fit into our dream clients category, all because the client read the chapter in the book that featured her. So what a wonderful thing to happen there. If you can incorporate many thought leaders and really excel in terms of the quality of content that you produce and help them reach their audiences by helping them, they're going to love what you're doing as a brand as well. So you're building such great relationships there. So it's a big, incredible piece of content there, which is hero content. Let us move on to what I call poll number one. It's really poll number two, isn't it? Because Jemmy's already had one there. And that is, what hero content do you intend to produce over the coming year? So hopefully you'll be seeing the poll there and seeing a few answers there. Is that something that's being shared at the moment there, Jemmy?
Yes. Before this, I quickly asked about content marketing, actually, because there was a very, very good opportunity for us to ask, are you systematically doing content marketing today? And 100% answered to some extent. So this presentation that you're giving us today will definitely give a lot of value. And it seems that the hero content that people are intending to produce over the coming year would actually fall into a something else category. So I would at least be extremely curious if you attendees want to share in the chat, um, what are you looking to produce as your
So the
hero content?
Yeah, there were a few different options in the poll there, and something else is one of them. So, what do you mean by something else there as well? There are many different forms of hero content that you can produce. I remember, I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme on a Volvo truck advert, and this was an advert, so only about 1 minute long or something like that. But got shared so many times on social media, so you can actually create an ad with creating something so spectacular and clever or funny or engaging, something that people was likely to share for the long term. And that could still be classified as hero content there as well. So I'm always interested to find out what type of hero content you intend to produce. But let's move on to the next form of content, the next age, which is help content. So that's largely blog posts, social media, FAQs, the type of content that's likely to answer common queries that people have in relation to the category of business that you tend to sit in. So thinking about blog posts, how do you go about creating those blog posts? I'm a big fan of the book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And he goes about explaining exactly how to create content based upon the questions that your target audience is likely to be asking. And it's a wonderful thing to be doing because it can bring you a lot of organic traffic on Google. It's really challenging nowadays to rank for highly competitive keyword phrases that are only about 2 words long or so. But if you can rank for keyword phrases that are maybe 4 or 5 words long, you can be highly targeted in terms of the content that you're delivering. You might just be gaining 10 new views per month, 10 new visitors per month as a result of actually getting that traffic. But if you've got hundreds of articles like that, you've got a much better chance of maintaining those rankings instead of someone else coming along and knocking you off the perch of a highly competitive keyword phrase. So the ASQ answer, that's a great resource as well. Also Google itself. So this is an example of a keyword phrase that I've just typed into Google. So I've typed in podcast for B2B brands. In other words, if you're a B2B brand and you're considering perhaps starting a podcast, how do you go about doing that? There is what's best practice. And then if you scroll down, you'll probably see a section called People Also Ask. People Also Ask tends to appear in just over 50% of queries in Google nowadays. And you actually can click on the questions in that section there and expand all the different questions that people are asking in relation to that keyword phrase there. Do podcasts work for B2B? What is a B2B podcast? How can I start a B2B podcast? What brand should have a podcast? So if I offer podcast production services for B2B brands, then I should think about, okay, what are the most relevant, appropriate keyword phrases that I should be targeting, long tail keyword phrases that I should be targeting, questions that I should be answering in relation to that particular topic. So it's a wonderful way of finding keyword phrases. And I'd also like to share a little thought in relation to keyword volume. Now, many keyword tools out there nowadays will struggle to provide you with the keyword volume for long tail keywords. There are many different reasons for that. There's no need at the moment, at this stage of this particular webinar, to go into the reasons why, but many keyword phrases, according to these keyword tools, have zero volume. It doesn't mean that they get zero volume. They could be not willing to share that information because of where they get the data from. It could be that it's an up and coming keyword phrase that doesn't have any historical keyword volume. So you need to use some common sense here. If it's the kind of phraseology that people are likely to type in relation to what you do as a business, and the keyword tool says zero volume, ignore it. Try to rank for that keyword phrase. It's still going to be a great keyword phrase for your business. Okay, where else do you get great ideas for keyword phrases from? Now, so if I type the same phrase, podcast for B2B brands, into a great website called Also Asked. Now, you can get a few free searches from Also Asked as well. You get a lovely visual representation of the other phrases that people type in, the phrases that people are likely to type in, how related those phrases are. You know, people are likely to type in what makes a good B2B podcast, what is a B2B podcast. So that's a great tool. If you're doing this kind of work in greater volume, producing lots of different articles out there, then this is a great tool to use because you can export all the results into a CSV file and then quickly build up your potential pages that you're going to build. So that's a lovely tool there as well. Take us up to poll number 2. How much help content do you currently have on your website? So this is in relation to the type of content that we've just been discussing there. How many active blog posts or articles do you currently have on your website that are targeting these longer tail keyword phrases?
Perfect. The poll is now open, and as we have now learned, it's right above the chat. And their answer options are under 10 articles, 10 to 50, or over 50. David, do you usually see one of these uh, like options being more common than the
Uh,
others? Is it usually under 10, or is it usually over 10, or
the classic answer is it depends. It depends on the type of business that I'm talking to, I'm presenting to. If it's the type of business that's a SaaS company that are quite limited in terms of their target market, then it's generally quite small. It's generally under 10. If it's the type of business that has multiple products and has over 10,000 visits to their websites a month, then it's going to be over 50. So it probably depends on the type of business. So there's not necessarily any absolute correct answer out there, but you need to be targeting the phrases that are relevant to your business. And if after doing the research, you're discovering opportunities that you're not ranking for, you need to put a long-term plan in place to try and do that.
Perfect. It seems that we are getting really even answers. We have the exact same amount of answers on all of the
Okay,
options.
great.
So
Okay, well, whatever option you've chosen, it probably means that there are still opportunities out there for you to rank for keyword phrases, because what I generally find is people target keyword phrases that have high search volume, and you can bring in a lot of traffic. I mean, I interviewed the founder of Also Asked actually about zero volume keywords, and he says that it says you're not going to get any traffic from these keyword phrases, but that's just not correct. You can bring in hundreds of thousands of visits a month from zero volume keywords. So work that one out. Where does the volume come from? There's obviously not the full information that's getting to these keyword tools. Okay, so let's move on to the third form of content. That is hub content. Now that sits outside the funnel. Why does it sit outside the funnel? Because in a longer sales experience, in a longer sales cycle, people aren't going to be engaging with your sales content. They aren't going to be asking questions in relation to what you do for a year if it takes them that long to make a decision about the product. But what will happen, what happens in many cases, is that if you don't engage with that customer continually during that period, then they'll probably forget about you. So when it comes to making that purchase, they're not going to type your brand into Google. They're not going to remember you, and they'll end up making a decision to purchase from someone else. So people naturally go through the hero to help kind of sequence. But if you're really great with your content, what you're going to do is you're going to get something like a YouTube channel or a podcast or a course published and get your potential customers engaging with that content and demonstrating your thought leadership in your business and demonstrating why people need to remember your brand. If they do that, if they engage with the content, they'll remember you and they'll come back to you, and they will eventually be much more likely to make that purchase. So let's have a look at examples of different forms of content that come under the umbrella hub content. So here's a podcast that I produced for a barrister's chambers called 39 Essex. It's a podcast that focuses in on a book actually that has been published called Wilmot Smith on Construction Contracts. Very big legal book on a very specific topic. And it's a great way of adding additional content to the book, of making people aware of the book, but also subtly keeping people engaged with the brand 39 Essex. Next example, I host a podcast for Rank Ranger. It's an SEO focused podcast. And for this podcast series, I interview lots of SEO thought leaders on very niche topics. Now, this actually covers two umbrellas. It is great hub content. It engages the SEO community. So when they're ready to consider changing their SEO software, then Rank Ranger is top of mind. But also, it's a great way of potentially producing help content as well. Very specific content, how to improve your SEO reports. So if people are searching for that particular keyword phrase, then hopefully they'll stumble upon that particular podcast episode. Now, lastly, as an example, there's another podcast that I produced for Cartmiles and Bransford, an IP firm. And this particular podcast is called Discover IP. Have a look at the episode titles. What is a patent attorney? How do I become a patent attorney? A day in the life of a patent attorney. So who's that targeting? That's targeting people that want to move into the IP profession. So Cartmiles are trying to make sure that they attract the leading minds of new potential people in the IP industry. So it's a great way of doing that. If you can get people like that engaging with your podcast, highly likely when they're ready to make that application, then they will apply for Cartmiles. So great target market there to produce a podcast for. Now, podcasts have grown exponentially in terms of numbers. Back when I started, roughly 10,000 podcasts existed. About 5 years ago, you had about 200,000 podcasts. Nowadays, you've got well over 2 million podcasts. So they're growing exponentially. Brands are seeing the value of them from a hub content perspective. So poll number 3 is, do you currently have a podcast? Does your brand currently have a podcast? Be interested to hear your answer on that.
Yes, and it seems that currently most answers are going to no, but we'd like to have one soon. It's there's been a clear uptick once again when it comes to like new podcasts being launched, and I don't know if it's very seasonal, that it fits better on like some specific cycles, for example when planning marketing activities, when coming up with the strategies for the next fiscal year, or wherever it sits the best. But this is very interesting, and at least like as a consumer, I see myself subscribing to 15, 20 business podcasts easily, and I listen to the newest episodes as soon as they release. So it would be also very interesting to hear maybe in the chat if the attendees are also avid listeners of business podcasts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of marketers are starting to understand the value of that. They understand that it does fit into that hub content and is a great way of building that brand authority out there. You don't have to sell. In fact, you absolutely shouldn't sell directly from a podcast if your purpose is to actually grow that brand authority. But it's a wonderful way to keep that brand top of mind. So when that person's ready to purchase, they'll purchase from you. It's a great way to deliver B2B podcasts. I think many marketers don't get started with it partly because they're fearful of committing to something that actually might mean an incredible amount of content that has to be produced on an ongoing basis. If that's the case, I would say have a think about what your first 12 episodes would look like, and even consider doing it as series one to begin with and then pausing. So if you can plan out your first 12 episodes and commit to doing that, then you've got a wonderful resource that you can share people. Because if you think about how it fits into your overall content marketing picture, if someone maybe signs up with some kind of lead magnet, they're not ready to buy, you can, through email, make people aware of your podcast series. You can get people to subscribe to that, engage with that, and then when they're ready, they'll come back to you. So it's a great way of delivering additional content to someone that's just subscribed to your email list as well. Okay, let us move further through the funnel. Now, as you've noticed, these three forms of content, these three H's, hero, help, and hub content, really just apply in the upper echelons of the pump and funnel marketing model. In other words, how are you going to convert people? How are you going to drive that loyalty and advocacy? Well, you've got your hero, hub, and help content. We need more H's. So I came up with 3 more H's in terms of different types of content, and that is heart, happy, and human content. So let's see where that fits into the model. And your heart content is the heart of what a business does. You've got great content that hopefully sells people on the concept of buying from you, or at least sells people on why they should be opting in to a particular lead magnet to provide some contact details. You've got your happy content. Once people actually become a customer, how do you make sure that experience to begin with is wonderful, so they really stick with you for the long term because they love what you do, and wherever you sold them is so easy to engage with and enjoy. And then finally, human content. What's human content? Is engaging with people on a one-to-one basis. So once people have signed up, how do you actually reach out to people on a one-to-one basis and cement that relationship so they turn from customers into advocates? So let's get started by having a little look at heart content. Heart content focusing in on product pages, on sales pages. So I really love the approach that Simon Sinek takes in his why, how, what sequence. So this is a video on YouTube, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. He's Also published a great book called Start With Why as well. If you haven't read that, you should absolutely definitely read that as well. Simon generally talks about businesses and about why great businesses are great businesses because they start with why. But I think this why, how, what sequence applies equally and just as effectively to web pages. Here's an example of one. Xero Software. Xero makes small business accounting easy. There's nothing about what they do as part of that headline. It's all about a feeling. It's why you should do business, why you should sign up to that particular service. Moving on from the why to the how. Xero's business accounting software has all the time-saving tools you need to grow your business. Call to action. That particular format works really, really nicely for the top of the page. I'll show you another example just in a second. But first of all, let's move down the Xero sales page. And as we move down, we've had the why at the top. This is an expanded how. Automate everyday business tasks. This is how they go about delivering the service that they offer. Move further down the page and you get to the what. This is what they do. Everything you need to run your business. Send invoices, bank reconciliation, payroll. Now, imagine if they actually started off with what instead of why. Buy the Xero platform to send invoices, reconcile everything on your bank, and manage your payroll. It's not exciting, and it just sounds like any other piece of accounting software out there. So why, how, what is the way that you should structure these sales pages to be really successful. Here's another great example. The CMS / website design service Wix. This is the headline. Create a website you're proud of. That's the why. Straight off, that's the first thing that hits you. Create a website you're proud of. Moving on to the how. Discover the platform that gives you the freedom to create, design, manage, and develop your web presence exactly the way you want. Call to action, get started. So that's the mini why, how call to action at the beginning of the page. Exactly the same as what Xero did. Scrolling down the page, you've got another expanded why, the freedom to create the website you want. Moving on to the how again, build your unique online presence. So this is how they go about doing it. It's not what they do, it's how they go about doing what they do. Scrolling down further, professionally designed website templates. We've got over 500 professionally designed website templates. Now, again, imagine what would happen if Wix started off with the what. These are the 500 wonderful websites templates that we've got. Buy our service. Here's the order button. There are so many website templates out there. People are thinking, I can design my own template. People are thinking, I'm on WordPress. There are hundreds of thousands of WordPress themes that I can choose from. Why do I need a website template? Start off with a why, and then move on to what you do to deliver that why. So that's the heart content. Moving on to happy content. Happy content, as I said, is all about the experience that people have as soon as they become a customer. So that welcome experience, any kind of training that you have to deliver people, the UX that people have to go through as part of that purchase experience. There's a brand that I like to show as an example for this, Autopilot. It's an email marketing / marketing automation platform. As soon as you actually sign up with them, you get these lovely welcome sequence videos, customer journey marketing, installing the tracking code, very specific videos, short videos. This is how you go about doing what you need to do to get the maximum out of our particular product. And of course, they also give you a tick box as well. So once they encourage engagement with you. It's almost as if you interact a little bit more with something, you're more likely to use something for the longer term there as well. So complete your accounts setup. And then moving on to support, make it easy for people to engage with you, ask questions. So that's a lovely example of great happy content to begin with. Moving on to human content. Now, case studies are a great example of human content. Why so? How about if you reach out to someone who has become a customer maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and you know they're engaging with what you do a lot. Surely that's a good opportunity to reach out with them, have a conversation about what they like, maybe what they don't like so much about the product, but the fact that you're engaging with them, you're reaching out to them, will make them more engaged with your brand. And then if they like what you do, then ask them to become a case study. Have a set of questions that you can ask people very easily in 5 minutes. Ask them for a photo, ask them for a little video, and they can provide a case study on your website. And if they provide a case study, then they're more likely, of course, to remember your brand and become an advocate for your brand as well. What are other forms of human content? Well, how about recording very quick videos for customers that maybe have signed up a month ago, and maybe they're even on a free plan to begin with, and you want to keep them engaged? Well, why not just have it in your diary? Once someone becomes a customer, or someone's been a customer for a month, record a video to say, look, I've seen that you've been on this part of our platform. Really appreciate you signing up with us. You let me know if there's anything that I can help with personally. Here's my email address. Something like that. Send them that personal one-to-one video. And there's a great platform called Loom that I recommend for that. It's actually free to sign up. To create up to 50 videos. So a great platform to quickly and simply create those one-to-one videos. And I just wanted to show you as an example. Here's another great way of providing that welcome sequence. They provide great videos to actually how to use the platform. So another demonstration of happy content as well. As talking about human content. Got to get my H's right there. And a final example of human content is you can also ask your customers to be guests on your podcast. So if you've got a podcast, why not reach out to top customers and say, we'd love you to talk through your experience of either using our platform or what you get out of it. Now, it shouldn't be a sales pitch. It shouldn't be a thinly veiled sales pitch. It really should be a genuine walkthrough of what the customer's done and what people can learn from what the customer's done. But again, if you engage with people like that, you're much more likely to turn them into brand ambassadors. So there we go. That is the 6H content framework inside of the pump and funnel marketing model. Now, it may be a little bit overwhelming. You may be thinking, oh, well, what do I do now? What's the most important thing? I'd probably recommend getting started off with one piece of hero content. So over the next year, can you plan that one piece of hero content? That's all you need really to engage an audience. I would aim for, to begin with, if you haven't got help content, 12 pieces of help content, research those questions and get those help content pieces published on your site, which then takes you to planning a podcast, YouTube series, or some kind of course that you can do. 12 podcast episodes, 12 video series on YouTube is what I generally recommend to begin with. It's enough for customers to engage with and really for you to demonstrate your thought leadership in your industry. Moving on to heart content, start off with one great sales page. If you haven't got a great sales page, pick your most important product and actually think about how you can start with why. Moving on to how, have that call to action. Further down the page, expanded why, expanded how, expanded what, another call to action there as well. Happy content, you only need to think of just one great video to begin with, to try to improve that experience that people have when they actually sign up with you to purchase your product or service. And then finally, one human experience. What's one way that you're going to choose to engage with people who have become customers and been customers maybe for a few months now? What's one way that you're going to reach out to them? Are you going to ask them to be a case study? Are you going to record a one-to-one video for them? What do you actually do? You're going to do and you're going to continue to do and you're going to plan into your content in order to drive more advocates. Now, a lot of people, I started off saying that a lot of marketers like to focus on technology to begin with. They like to get excited about driving traffic. And I would highly, highly recommend that you get started with, first of all, what is your funnel? Then moving on to How does your content map to that funnel to ensure that you're hitting the appropriate frame of mind that those prospects have, i.e., awareness, consideration, conversion, the right stage, the right content at the right time. So map that to begin with. Then is the time to really think about driving traffic. So for your hero content, partnerships are great. If you're engaging with a dozen different thought leaders. For the example that I shared with you from Majestic, I interviewed 66 SEO thought leaders. So suddenly you're engaging with thought leaders, and there's an opportunity to partner with them to promote the content as well. All of them actually received a complimentary copy of the book as well. So it's a great way of engaging with that target audience. They might be interested in the service or the product, but they can also tell their own audiences about that as well. So partnerships to begin with for your hero content. Your hub content, your episode content, that's great for social media advertising, LinkedIn, Facebook ads, things like that. You can take clips from your videos. You can take segments from your podcast. You can publish them as social media posts. You can boost those posts, and you can build a retargeting audience from that. And it's that retargeting audience alongside Google ads that you can drive to your heart content. But if you just focus your advertising at your heart content, i.e. your sales pages, you're going to be targeting many people that aren't ready to buy from you yet. So that's why I suggest doing it in that particular sequence. So to finish up, I would say stop thinking about driving traffic and start thinking about driving the right person to the right piece of content at the right time. And if you do that, that will lead to higher conversion rates. That matched content strategy, where you're matching your content against the unique requirements of your prospects at each stage in your funnel, that will highly enhance your conversion rates. And that's why a big brand like Amazon is untouchable in the SERP, because people will search for very long tail keyword phrases, maybe see Amazon. Oh, I recognize that brand. That I'll buy it from them. I recognize the brand. You want your brand to be recognized in your niche, in your industry, so that when people are ready to buy, yeah, I recognize that brand. I trust that brand. I'll make the purchase from them. I'm David Bain. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me, david@castingcred.com. I'm more than happy to go through any questions if you've got them now.
Let's see. So now would be a perfect time to ask any questions if there would be any for David. But I would at least have one or two to start off with the questions. Um, when we're thinking about, for example, podcasts, one quite common thing I've heard being said from marketers, and especially from like very high level, from the ones who sit on the money, is that it's really difficult to track the direct impact of a podcast. So what would you tell to marketing execs that they could reason with their senior leadership that this is why we would we would benefit from having one, even though we can't necessarily attribute every single listener to a direct funnel?
Look, you're never going to be able to track the success of everything. Does that make you mean that you shouldn't do it? Does that mean that it's got less value than other things that you should track? What about the value of brand marketing? Do you not want to spend any money on brand marketing at all? If you go to conferences, do you not sponsor anything at all? Do you not have your brand out there at all? Many marketers are comfortable spending money on that, spending thousands and thousands on that, but not necessarily having anything directly trackable. Now, of course, you can start to have an idea of the value of things like podcasts by asking questions to people once they sign up with you. So if you've got some kind of leads magnet, or if you've got some small purchase that people make online from you, or even a larger purchase, after they've made that purchase or opted in for that lead magnet, you should be asking people, where did you hear from us? What piece of content did you engage with that made you want to make the decision to actually sign up with us. If you start to ask those types of questions once people become customers, it'll give you an indication as to the value of your podcast. Of course, you can track other metrics, you can track how many of people have listened. You can attempt to have a direct call to action from a podcast by sharing a website address, a unique website address, a phone number as well. But generally, podcast listeners, certainly in the B2B world, aren't in the frame of mind of being ready to make that purchase at the moment. So you need to accept that you're going to turn more people off than you can track by attempting to be too focused on measuring conversions directly from a podcast. Don't try and do it. If you're a B2B brand with a long sales cycle, use it as that thought leadership building. I mean, do you not spend any money on getting your thought leaders to appear on conference panels, for example? Sometimes you can pay a lot of money for that. It's just again about getting marketers' heads out of the thought that podcasting or producing YouTube content or producing a virtual summit is the same as any other form of digital content. No, it's content and it's marketing, and some marketing you can measure much more effectively than others. Podcasting you can't, but does it make it less valuable? Are people going to find out about your sales pages if they don't actually start at the beginning of your sales funnel? I can keep the rant going if you want.
No, but I think that's a very extremely valid point. Are people gonna find the sales page, even the great one, if they don't know, if they have no means of ever coming across your brand through any given channel or any format? So that's definitely also something to take away as a very, very key point. Maybe also some kind of a key argument to take to the top leadership if needed. But it seems that chat is quite quiet. It's been a lot of stuff we've covered uh, during this 50 minutes. It was very, very interesting, and I hope that everyone now downloads, if you didn't yet, the downloadable that's pinned right above the chat. And as a reminder, everyone here joining us today will be getting also the recording, so then you can watch it over and over and hopefully every time get a little more inspired or get something extra to your own toolkit. But maybe now it's then a good time to say thank you for our attendees today. And a huge, huge thank you to you, David. It was extremely, extremely inspiring.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jemmy, Leadoo. Great to be invited and meet you all.
Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we are looking forward to seeing you when we kick off our next set of virtual events then in autumn. Until then, I hope everyone has an amazing summer and maybe got inspired. And we will see some of this actually coming to fruition on your website and maybe other content too. But for now, thank you for joining. Bye for now.